Hi everybody, it's Ron again, and I've got another video here about writing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about one of my favorite authors, Flannery O'Connor. Here is the complete stories. Just in the last 10 years, they've come out with this kind of definitive volume that collects all of her work. She wrote some novels, but she's mainly seen as a master short storyteller. It's what happened is this is what's Southern Gothic fiction, stories about weirdos, outsiders, people in earlier days who might have been called perverts or just unconventional people, or also just lonely people who don't fit in. Now, a lot of writers start out with that moniker, like William Faulkner, like Carson McCullers, two of my other favorites. And then later on, decades later, their work becomes rediscovered, and they're considered some of the greatest authors of their time, but only in retrospect. To begin with, they're just considered Southern Gothic. Well, anyway, here is considered one of the greatest short stories of the 20th century. It's everything that rises must converge. This is a great story. I don't know if kids learn this in high school or it could be read. It has certain racial aspects to it. And I know with the way things are these days, you're not even really supposed to acknowledge that in the past things were different. But in this story, and I've talked about this with some other videos as well, the whole principle of writing your main character. And one good thing about reading Flannery O'Connor is you get a good lesson about writing the main character. Because normally, when we write the main character of our stories, we write the main character as the good guy, the protagonist, the person who is the hero, and usually for first-time writers who are just writing their little memoir, it's like, oh, I wrote a diary, that means I can write a book. Or, I had cancer and it's gone away for a time now, so now I'm going to write this memoir or something. A lot of people, we all start out with that sort of thing. And in that case, our main characters are us, and they're wonderful. And they're the victims of other people, and they are wonderful. They have the right motives. They might be failures, but eventually they learn how wonderful they are. Well, in Flannery O'Connor, all of her characters are the main characters are passive-aggressive jerks. Now, she has a satirical bent, an extreme satirical, over-the-top bent to a lot of the dramatic things that happen in her tales. But I love the idea that when you read her works, the main character is always, they're bad, but they're unaware. They're unaware characters. They are foolish, as I think a lot of us are. Maybe we're not aware of it. But as a writer, you should become aware of it and read everything that rises must converge. So, in that, there's the main character. He's super passive-aggressive. He's got to take his mother to this weight loss clinic, and it's in, I think, late 50s or early 60s when segregation is sort of being broken up in some areas. So there's this whole racial undertone of how the main character is so kind of silly and solicitous and high-minded when he deals with black folks, but it's really sort of pandering and insulting. And his mother is too, but maybe she's a little more innocent about it, and a person of her time. But by having all these characters being unaware and not the hero in just a flat-out way, it makes the writing so much richer and can create other aspects it can lead to other aspects of drama and narrative that you would never get if you only just stuck with the heroic, virtuous main character. And so when I say don't write your main character as heroic and virtuous, I don't mean to make them a villain or an anti-hero. No, you just make them unaware. You make them like we are sometimes, like when we like to feel victim, like we like to feel bad about things, wallow in our own self-pity. Write the main character like that. And then you can have two levels in the narrative where the character is telling you, maybe as a first person situation, about what he feels. But then there can also be another narrator who is looking down on it and sees how this character really is and gives us a little more dimension to him. Now, what was I going to say? I mean, this is what was I going to say? Okay, I can't remember what it was, but I got one other thing. Another aspect of this is if you've ever read Proust, Marcel Proust, his one giant work. It used to be called Remembrance of a Thing, Remembrance of something, and now it's called In Search of Lost Time. I don't know. They published it for decades, and then they decided the translation was not right. I don't know. But it's a series of books, sometimes referred to as like a story about nothing. But it's about characters and observing characters. And if you can write characters who have their flaws, who are weird or unusual, who are unaware, who do foolish things, who think they're right but they're wrong, and as you write it, you're just stepping back and observing them as opposed to judging them, you can be a little Proustian, because that's a characteristic of how Proust, he was a very unusual person himself and didn't have a lot of life experience, but he could look at all of these people across all of society and observe them without judging. That's a beautiful thing, I think. And anyway, that's a thing to aspire to. Let me keep forgetting to show. This is my latest novel, There Are Still Unknown Places. It's a book about characters and language rather than using words to just tell a story. And it's to create a picture of a city and an age here in Bangkok in the late 20th century, the early 21st century. People's lives, their loves, their experiences, their view of the world from their perspective, flawed as it might be, contrasted with the epic sweep of history. So it's on Amazon, Kindle, it's in some bookstores. Please read it. Let me know what you think. Bye-bye.